Good morning, Free Motion Friday fans. I am very happy to be here. It's first Friday of February 2023, and just want to share some additional fun ideas to really amp up the texture of any quilted project. So the first place that I want to start is with color. So whenever you're working, you really have to make some smart decisions about what you want as far as texture. So when you look at this right here, these are two different colors that I've selected, and I'll show them up a little bit closer. The reason why I want to share this color is actually this right here, this color. Whoa, dropping it. It's a So Fine 50 weight thread. Remember that the higher the number here, the thinner the thread. So this thread right here, the dark color, is 40 weight, and 50 weight is quite a bit finer. Plus, I've chosen a color that is picked up in this purple right here. So if you look at it, this is the purple, and you can see it's kind of got this light blue teal inside of that thread, right? So this, just so you know, this is Fantastico, one of my favorite brands. Love it. And it says right there, maybe if you can't see it, it's hard for me to see it actually, it's what needle that you want to use right there. So this is a 9014 top stitch needle that I recommend that you use for Fantastico. And this is a really vibrant, shiny thread with a lot of texture and a lot of color. And you can see that on this orange. I mean, it really shows and pops out. Okay, this is a little bit flatter, right? Color-wise, it's a little bit flatter. It's not as shiny, and it is certainly very fine. So this is the texture that you're going to get out of that thread when you're using it in this micro quilting format. And I can travel right along the edge here of this darker thread anytime that I want to. If this thread is lighter, I don't want to stitch right on top of the purple because it will mask that purple and make it look a little muted. It's like putting a mask on top of it, and the definition of this darker thread will be lost. So when I stitch, you can see it right there. If I stitch on top, that's what happens. So what I'll do next time is stitch right next to that, like I did up here, so that the purple will not be masked. Now, let's go to this side. This is a similar color, certainly an orange, but it is not exactly the same color. So let me show you. It's a little bit brown, a little bit different. And what will happen if we use a color that is slightly different, not exactly matching, especially if it's slightly darker, it's going to enhance the color that's already there, but let the patterning show. And you can really see that between those two. This darker thread, I think, shows much more than the lighter. The lighter looks a little bit more iridescent and your eye moves around, whereas this has a lot more definition. So I'm going to let you guys pick which color that we're going to work with today. So you can pick this one or this one, and I'll get threaded up super quick. We don't have that many people here, so I hope that the people that are here will definitely pick. It takes a second for the computer to catch up because the broadcaster can see it first. But I see Di Warner's watching. Rita, we may have some signal issues. It's giving me ugly vibes. It keeps saying that we're getting disconnected. I'm just going to keep going. Donna says orange. Teresa Rose, what do you say? Nan, what color do you like? The brown? Okay, we got two of the browns. Okay, Marilyn Mudge, for you, this is the thread on the right, huh? You like this one? I think this one's winning so far. So the next person, let's see what we got. Di, what color do you like? Do you like this orange, this darker brown one, or do you like the teal? Darker color. Okay, that's it. We got more oranges. So we're going to put this one on. And of course, test, right? We tried it. We decided. We made a conscious decision. This isn't the piece we're actually sewing on. We're actually going to sew on this other one. But because those were the same color combinations, it let me play with the thread and decide which color that we want to use. So let's get threaded up super quick. I'm pretty fast at this, so I can do it fast. So one thing I noted, I'm going to share that with you since this happened to me too. This has a little cut on it where the thread can slide into. So if you're using it on an upright spool, put that at the bottom so that as the thread spools off, it won't get caught in the little cut, right? Because we don't want it to flop over that. So that was just something that happened to me. It was pulling my thread weird. So I thought I would share that with you. So let's make sure I'm doing what I said. All right, well, we'll check it out. I can't really see. My glasses are not helping me right at this moment. Oh, okay. So my machine has a lock button, and my friend Di Werner has a new machine with a lock button too. So press that when you thread. If you have that same type of Janome or have like a preset for threading, go ahead and make sure you do that. So right now it's released all my tension. For many other machines that don't have that, make sure that your presser foot is in the up position when you thread. What that makes sure that is happening is that the tension is released so that the thread will go into the tension discs. So the way you test that, let me turn my lock off. If the foot is in the down position, then this thread should be tight. Like you cannot pull it, right? Because the tension discs are pulling on it, around it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and lift up the foot, and when that happens, let me get it underneath there. Always pull it under the foot so it doesn't flex your needle. Okay, so now when I pull on it, see I can pull it? That's because the thread tension is open when the foot is up. Okay, all right, so let's talk about this piece really quick. I'm going to have you look down on it just a little bit more directly so you can kind of really see straight down. Make it slightly bigger, a little bit bigger too. I want to really exaggerate this shape here in the center. So if I punch down this area and these tiny little sections in here, which I can use to travel, we can sew like this. We can sew in and back out and fill this, cross over, fill like this. That makes this continuous and it lets us fill up the sections that we want. One of the ways that I try to remind myself, what am I filling so that I don't get lost? You can just put like a little marking like this. I think this design is pretty easy to see what we're actually quilting, but sometimes it's not easy to see that, right? So you can just put a little dot. This is air erase marker. These marks are going to go away without me having to do anything at all. But now I know that is what I want to quilt. So let me just show you one more thing before we start. This thread that we're using, many of the superior threads tell you information about it. It's a polyester thread, it's a 3-ply twist, and it also will tell you, oh darn it, it tells you that you need the 80-12 top stitch needle. And when we're done quilting, I'll pull that off, but it says it on the other one. It literally, I don't know where my cover is on there, but it will give you that information so you don't have to guess, which is great. I love that. Okay, so let's just start in one of these sections right here. I still want to tie off just like I would normally do. I always want to pick up my bobbin thread. I'm using the same thread on the back that I use with the outline quilting. So that thread is an 80 weight. It's a white deco bob. You can see it right here. This is the white deco bob right there. So let's tilt that so we can make sure we're in view a little bit. Okay, so white on the back is a lighter weight, significantly lighter than this top thread, even though it doesn't look like it right there. That's the color. But this one's super thin, 80 weight, and this one is 50. Can I use different weights of thread? Of course. What matters is, can you make it look good? This is the white thread on the back right there. Do you see any purple? You don't. That's because my tension is well balanced here between these two threads. But that can be very difficult sometimes, right? When we have a thread that's really dark and a thread that's really light. So you do need to play with your tension. What's happening here is that they are balanced so that the knot between the purple and the white is actually hidden right inside there. And you don't see white on the top and you don't see purple on the bottom. If you see the white pulling up to the top, that means that the top tension is working too hard. So we want that top tension to be less. If this purple color is showing on the back, it means that the top thread is not working hard enough. So we would raise up the tension number in that case to make sure that we don't see any purple on the back. So always test, especially when we're working with different weights and essentially big changes of color. You really need to do that. If you struggle with that, the solution is use the same color. It doesn't have to be the same weight, but it can be the same color, and that will help to camouflage any challenges in tension. Okay? All right. So let's see where we're at real quick. Let me refresh this so that we can all watch the same thing. All right, let's go ahead and start. I'll work towards you so that where we're going is kind of in front a little bit so that you can see. This foot does make it perhaps a little bit hard to see. What I'll do is I'm going to sew a little bit with this foot, and then I have another foot that we can use called the free motion floating foot. Both of these are going to work the same style in terms of the foot being right above the fabric and the foot is keeping the fabric from lifting up or flagging. But I like this type of foot because it doesn't prevent me from moving. The hopping foot is going to squish your fabric and lift up, squish and lift up, and I have to wait for it to lift up. So with this foot, I don't. I can literally just start going. All right, so let's go ahead. We're just going to echo a little bit. We want to try to keep kind of the same shape, right? And then I'll move up 1 or 2 stitches and I'll just echo it a little bit more. So we're basically using the shape of the existing design to put that fill in. We're trying to keep the look of the existing design, but just emphasize it a little bit more. So we're kind of using that V in the middle, and each time maybe moving up 2 stitches to fill that in. Once I'm there, remember what we said, if we need to travel from here, because we want to get to this section, you'll travel right inside this purple. I don't want to put this brown on top of my purple, so as I look, I'm traveling right next to it. Now, I'll comment that that requires a significant amount of control. Notice that I'm not just sewing quickly, but the needle has to move consistently. So as you see me going, my speed is, it's not regulated on this machine. Although this machine does have that feature, I could use it. This is just the regular quilting foot, and I'm just going to come in and dip out. If you want to make a little mark for reference, if you need more visual cues, right here you can just draw a line right down the center. You're connecting this point and this point, and what you're doing is you're going to sew in and you're going to come out, travel up, in, and out. And we're just looking for a small gap. We're not trying to sew too tightly. You can even maybe count if you wanted to, how many of those you have. If you really are a perfectionist, I don't care. I'm not doing that. But this is what we're doing, so you can see it a little bit better. Watch how we want the needle to consistently move. Here, we're at the point, so we have to arc out a little bit to give a little space. And this one, we'll kind of arc back just to make that first one the same. Travel inside the purple, and keep your needle moving at a very regular clip. Doesn't have to be fast. These stitches are small and the thread is also thin. So don't worry about a little thread buildup. It's okay. Okay? With all those lines, it's a little hard to see, right? Okay. Oh, I didn't do what I said. I said we were going to go down. Oh, it's fine. Let's go down this time. Then we'll get on our pattern. I can travel anywhere I need to. I'm just going to go right inside that purple thread right there. Okay. Now, let's talk about this little skinny finger right there. That is so tiny that all I need to do essentially is just put maybe 3 lines of quilting. So let me show you. We'll just go right inside the purple on this side. We'll come all the way down like a little orange peel. And we'll just come back up the other side. And we'll just come right down the center. Not a complicated pattern, just lets us travel over. We'll do it one more time right here so you can see. I'll just move it in a little close so you can see what we're going to do. We're going to go right inside the purple and back up, and we'll come straight down the center, which will bring us to the next area. So it doesn't have to be that I have to put little scribbles in there. I can just easily compress with just a little bit of a straight line. We're using the existing part of the curvature with the purple as the guideline, so I can look right inside the foot. I can see that, and then we'll just go right down the middle and fill it in. And just by doing that, those lines are less than 1/8 of an inch apart in that section, which really helps you see that you're getting plenty of fill in there. All we want is for this to punch. So right here, you can see that the quilting is already lifting up here too, because this is a little bit deeper down. So this is all that purple marking, but you're going to get something more like this. What am I doing wrong when I travel back up? So the question is, what do I do wrong when I'm traveling back up? I get jump stitches. So I know what I think a jump stitch is. What do you think a jump stitch is? What do you mean? Do you mean that you get a buildup of thread like a knot, or you get a skip stitch? So if you could let me know, we can try to address your question a little more precisely, just to make sure that we're all using the same language, okay? So again, we're here. In order to do this design, we have to go somewhere. We have to come up. So we'll travel right up here so we can get to the corner. I'm traveling again right next to that purple, okay? So we'll go into the middle, coming back up, right to the corner so that they're the same, back into the V, and really trying to keep that V. Try not to let it flatten out too much, which means that I need to curve this more to follow this, because if I start making the curve flatter and flatter, then by the time I get to the top, I don't have any V. Okay, and here we'll travel right down to the next joint, and then we'll cross over to the next one. Right into the V, following the arcs, travel up. You can even count 2 stitches up or 3 stitches up, however many you want. 1, 2, 3, putting your arc in. See, that one had already started flattening out, so I'm going to curve it just a little bit more so I can kind of get back to my curvature. Okay, and then here we'll travel. Oh, darn it. So now we need to go back this way. We'll go the other way. It's fine. Just travel all the way around. Nobody will know. It'll be okay. Just go around. Right inside the purple. Nobody will know. Okay, so now I'm back to that little section right there. I'm just going to carefully cross right over, and we'll just follow this purple line down to the bottom. Come down as far as I dare. We'll come right back next to the purple line. Okay, and we'll come right down the center. So this lets you see a different angle as we go. There's a lot of purple right there in the center, and I don't want to mask over that. So what I'm going to do is actually just kind of go a little bit around the outside of that big knot of thread so that I don't get my darker thread right over those purples. So again, here we're on that purple line. We'll just go right along. Keep your needle moving at a nice clip, nice smooth sound. Okay, the way you can do that is if you press your gas all the way, your needle is not going to change speeds, right? So put your needle at a speed that you can comfortably sew and control by using your speed control bar, and then press your gas all the way down. Now, we are getting some great texture already. I can definitely see it happening. So we'll travel up here. This time I won't turn the quilt. We're kind of working towards the side. That way we're crossing along this way. So I'll just sew it just like this so you can see we don't need to rotate our quilt sandwich at all. Okay, we're just gonna move up those few stitches into the V, curve up, and we'll just keep going. Does it matter if one line is a little flatter than the other one? No, just keep on going. It's micro quilting. Nobody will even be able to tell unless you tell them. Okay, so now we'll cross right over, right against that purple, go to the next side. We'll do this one, and then reminder that we'll come down right in that section. Okay, so just follow it down to the V, arc up, a few stitches up on top. The reason I like to share micro quilting is one of the things I think that attracts people to the visual aspect of quilting is when we have those changes in texture. And we don't need to have micro quilting to have that, but I think a lot of times when we look at the quilts that we really think are so spectacular, they do have some element where this texture change is really predominant. So if we want to go down this way, we pick a direction, and I don't care which way you go. You can decide if you want to go a different direction. It's up to you. Okay? And again, we'll just come in and out. So does this take a long time? Let's talk about that. Sometimes people will tell me, oh, that's too fussy, you know, I'm not going to do that. Well, that's totally up to you. Nobody's making you do it. I hope that you'll do it if you want to do it. But it's definitely going to change the texture. So let me show you something. I noticed that this one and this one are a little bit fuller than some of the other ones, and that's just because, you know, me. But I can see that there's a little bit of a line there in the center. So I'll just go put another one in there. Who's going to stop me, right? Don't tell the quilt police. They might come after me. But this one too. So these two are a little bit more than this one. This one's kind of skinny. Let's scoot down so you can see that. So somebody just commented, and I'm going to comment on that too. Micro quilting is easier than larger quilting. I think to some extent that's true. I can make a little line or a little curl that's only this big, right? But if I have to make it this big, it's a lot harder. So what is the lesson about that? I think that you're exactly right. However, it's very important that you practice at scale. So if you're doing things that you want to fill, you have to practice at that size, right? I think that we can't really get super good at what we want to get good at unless we're actually doing the right size. So here, I'll go ahead and I'm going to put 2 of those little loops inside because this one seems like it's a little bit fuller. And then I'll just fill right in the middle. I can look right inside that foot. I don't care if these parts right here just cross over up to the top. I knew it was going to do that, and I was prepared for that. Nobody is going to see this little thing where this line right here crosses over those little orange peels. And even if they did, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Love how this texture is starting to show. Can you see the definition there? Just right there where that lightning is, the shadow is on this side. And I love that. Just think it looks fantastic. So again, move up your couple of stitches, back into your V. Okay. What happens if the needle does not move consistently? The needle ends up pinning you in place. If the needle is moving so slowly, then when I'm trying to push, it's like a race car at the starting line where they're revving up the engine, but the needle won't let you actually go anywhere. Okay, so we'll come down this way. Come on over to this side. This side is already quilted, so we'll just go to the next one. What happens if I curve out too far and I have a little gap? Like if that one's a little further away from the edge? I'll show you. We'll actually fix that on the other side. And you're the one who determines if that even requires fixing. I see it. Will it bother me? If I have 5,000 more stitches in there, probably it won't, right? If it's by itself, it tends to show. right? But if we have a lot of other quilting in there, it's probably not going to show. Okay, we'll put one more little V. So here I'm going to come around this side, and right next to that purple, I'll put that little in, and that's going to camouflage that and really close off that little part that's stuck out. You could tell because right next to this stitching, it lifted up, and our goal is to punch all of that down right next to the purple. So just by putting a little extra line in there, I can camouflage that. So what do you think so far? Can you see that texture in there? Are you liking it? I definitely think it accents this part for sure. And you can really tell the difference between the two sides. So let's see, I think we're almost halfway, I guess. I'll just go ahead and do this center portion. We'll finish this last one and then I'll pull it out and we'll kind of look at it. So this one's a lot skinnier. So I don't need as much fill right here. I'll just go right down the center. And then we'll do our micro tacking. There's a lot of thread there. So we'll just go ahead and cut that and then we'll let you see it. Okay, so we chose two different patterns. This one we chose because it keeps this elongation right here because this is nice and long. If we choose a design that's like scribble, it'll still work because it's such a small area, but it's hard to make turns. It's hard to make a turn right there when it's so skinny. So what we did is we just kept this same line as our quilt inspiration for this. And I think it keeps it nice and clean. This area then is keeping the accent right here of this shape, which is nice. Now, because this part is already filled in, I wouldn't necessarily want to fill in this space. I think that would make this space really have too much, too much quilting right next to each other. If you do want to fill in this space, something that you could do is put a gap in between. So let's just do one of those, maybe two, and we'll put a little gap in there. You can always create the separations of your choice if you feel like maybe that was too open and it needed some additional quilting. We can still make that happen, but we don't necessarily have to fill it all the way. So I'm right in sort of the little center right here, and this shape, we can put a template on there, which is another reason I like to use the rulers so often. What I want to do is just create a little bit of separation between these two. Right here, it's going to be a 1/4 inch away because the ruler is touching right at the stitch line. So as I sew in, okay, I'll keep this gap right there. Okay, I don't want to close all the way down because we want to create a separation. So let me turn it around. I want to show you, this is a random choice with this ruler. You could use this actual template, but this is just a curve. This kind of looks like a curve, right? If you look at it, see how it's really close to that? Rather than make this a point and come up like how we did here, I'm going to just round this out and make it smooth. I want to come to this position and be a 1/4 inch away just like the other side. Okay, so I'll just sew over, and then I'm going to come right back to that top portion, and now we have this little V right in here. Okay, right here at the tip, we need to come back and be a 1/4 inch away, so that's what we're aiming for. Trying to get right into the existing line. Okay, so now we've created our little space. And is that enough? I can just leave that, right? I don't have to put any more than that. That alone would be enough, but we'll just quilt the tar out of it, right? Because we can. So I'm just going to put some little micros in here, really small. If I need to travel, I'll use the existing line that I created because I can reinforce that as much as I want. So I am looking inside. This is called scribble. Okay, when you were a little kid and you couldn't follow the lines, That's what we're doing right now. If this crosses over, do I care? No, I do not. Okay. Now that I've filled it in, I can travel around it. So let's turn it so you can see. I have my little design. I can look inside the foot, and I'm going to follow the existing line and bring myself right back up to the top. All right, so now let's show you what we got. We got a little separation, right? And it looks like it's dangling down. Oh, I love it already. Now we have this big, awesome space, and I want to fill it in. Since this is already empty, let's just fill this all in with some pebbling and some little swirls and stuff like that. So we can travel out a little bit so we can get a swirl. Okay. And I'll fill in the circle on the way out. Come around. And we'll do figure eights. So as this comes out and we go into the next one, we'll go the opposite way. Some of them can be empty, some of them can be full. It's up to you. You can do a little one here, big one. Okay, so right here, if you can't see, I'll just turn it a little bit. We maybe can't fit the full circle in there, so if that happens, I'll fit it whatever size I can, and I'll just come across and put the swirl in. I'm using that straight area right there until I can get a little circle in right there. Go the other way. So those are two small ones. Then I'll put a swirl in. I'm not worried, I'm not trapped. Okay, I still have some more to fill in over there. If I need to, I can travel over there. But right now, we'll just concentrate on this side since it's already kind of closed. I'm not going to panic, okay? Because I do panic, I admit it. Put a swirl in, go the other way. And then we'll put maybe a little bigger one right there, which will let us put a little tiny one down at the bottom right there. Okay, so now what do? I'm panicked. Oh no. I have to go down here, and I can. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Just travel down, okay, if you need to, and I can just fill in a little gap right there if I need to, okay? Following this circle, and we'll put this one in, okay? And if I need a partial to close that, I can put any kind of little partials in there that I want. Now, we need to go a direction in order to continue, so I'll go ahead and come back up to the top on this side, just like we mentioned before, traveling along the existing stitch line. My orange needle, my orange thread is right next to the purple, but not on top of it. Two things that does for us. It's going to punch down right here, which makes this part lift up because we have a secondary line of stitching right there that's actually wider. And then we would put our next little fill in there. So we'll do that. Again, this is aligning right to the point. Okay. And I usually will travel down just a little bit here. Try to come right down the center. If we don't, then we might not have enough room. We might have this crossing over. See how skinny this is? We want to come down a little bit before we make that so that we have room to put that design in. Okay, so touch there. We'll just put this right on the bottom, getting us right over to the other side. This line should be touching right at the existing stitch line. Okay, so if I line that up, I want it to touch right there. And then that brings me over to the other side. And hopefully that will keep that symmetrical too, that both sides of this will look the same. And then, I know I'm swirling it around, but I want you to be able to see. Now that we're at this position, this is a 1/4 inch away, so is this needle, and we want to come back up to the center as much as possible. That's why we came down right in the middle there, because that's really where we want to touch back, okay? So we'll touch back kind of right at that 1/4 inch, and then we'll do our little scribble, right? As we said, harder to see with this matching thread, I admit it, it is. But I can look right in there, If you have the little magnifier, this would be an awesome place to use it, right? You can just put your little magnifier on and scribble all day long. Okay, so we'll kind of go down this way, fill that in. And if I see any big gaps, right, you can fill that in on your way back, right? We don't care. It's scribbling, so it's okay. Come right back up to the top. And then we're positioned right to go into this next section right there. And we'll just start doing our swirls right away. The other one, we kind of moved out a little bit. So for this one, I'll just change it up. I'll put a little swirl right at the beginning, and then we'll start moving into some. Smaller circles need a little bit of speed. Otherwise, they're going to look really choppy and dotty. So go ahead and don't be afraid of a little bit of speed here. We already know that we're going to be putting a lot of stitches in right there because this is micro quilting. Okay, come out, fill in my circle, close it up, a little partial circle right there, come out, and we'll do a full one right here. Okay, a little baby one. So I did a little better path this time where I started in a way that I knew would get me back to where I wanted. So that's also something useful to think about. You know, it helps you not have to backtrack like we did before. So we'll put a little empty one right here, a smaller one. And then we'll put a nice swirly whirly right there. And then we'll put a partial right there. And this one can have more of a swirl. It's actually bigger. It won't close on the bottom, but then we'll just travel up, put a little baby one, figure 8, swirl. Okay, we got some little spaces right here to fill in. A little partial right there, cross over, and then we'll put some little baby ones right there. And then that brings us right back to our spot. Okay, so you can see this doesn't have the depth and color of this purple, but it definitely has that texture. Just having it be a little bit darker, it's going to give a little bit more relief on that orange. And so I do really like it. It almost looks green from here. This batting isn't thicker. This is just one piece. And this isn't even a fancy batting. This is just 80-20. It's fairly thin, right? It's not thick at all. Why does it look like I used 2? Because we texturized. Yay! That's the whole point. I love it that you said that. That makes me feel so happy. So by compressing some areas, we get this lift, we get the shadows, we get more definition. Let me show you one more thing. So when we stitched this area, we didn't really punch down. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to sew right on the inside of this. So look at it now really good. Make a good mental note. In fact, I'll actually take a picture with my phone so I can post that later. I'm going to sew right inside the purple. Okay, just like we said. What that does is it makes that purple line actually thicker, but you can't really tell why it's thicker. Okay, I'm going to come up on this side. Then if there's any areas where the circles are not closing all the way, this is going to close that for sure. Okay, so again, I'm going to cross over to this other line. Try to go right inside my purple. Punching that down just a little bit more, right to the top, and then coming right back up. Because of the way we traveled, it's not all equally punched down with that first pass. Well, now it is. Now this entire area is going to be very strongly punched down right there and really change the definition between the 2 sides, especially with this having some lift up. Carol, yes, I absolutely texturize on any kind of patchwork, anything, right? I mean, I think that's the whole point of that. When we're done, I'll go ahead and take you over to another little piece that I have. I guess it's not typically patchwork, but I'll see if I can show you. Let's go ahead and we'll come around this side as well. We're going to do something else here. So let's just cut across the top. Trying to get as close to that purple as I can, but not on top of it. Okay, and we'll do one more. This way, if there's any little gaps that I failed to close with my micro quilting, we're de-emphasizing that and we're making this have a little bit more texture right up there at the top. So what do you think? Can you notice? Do you notice the difference? We should have left one undone. That would have been better. So maybe I'll do that next time. So right now, we've been going for a bit. It's about 10:40 and I gotta get going. So this is where we are. I'll go ahead and post a picture with a better lighting, like with a really strong lighting, and I'll even pull this out. Let's come out a little bit. And I'll try to finish it up so that you can get the visual impact of the whole thing, but I'll come out just a second. Right? Big difference in texture. You starting to see it now? Ooh, just makes me want to pet it. I love it. So, you know, if you're just sitting around and you just want to quilt, just pick a little spot and put a little something in there. And you don't have to do the whole thing either. You know, we are obviously texturing it quite a bit more, but it's not required. You can just do a little, like if you just wanted to do this, go ahead, totally fine. If you just wanted to do, you know, maybe these two little diamonds on each one and travel across and do your two diamonds. You don't have to do everything, but even a tiny little bit of this texturizing really makes a big difference and gives that relief and that three-dimensional aspect that we love so much. I will post this class. Somebody just said, where can I find this class from the beginning? Well, you can't find it from the beginning right now because it's ongoing. But as soon as I'm done, I will post it on my Fabricated Quilts page, and you will be able to watch it as many times as you want to. So let's see if there was any questions really fast that we didn't get to. There's a lot of comments. Hey, if you guys want to, maybe you can share it. That would be awesome. I would love that. So if you feel like it, that would be great. I would be happy. But I'll go ahead and close it out. Linda, I will be on Sunday, and I will put a note out to that effect. So really quick, I'm going to walk you over to one of Leonie's. I'm going to show you a very, very cool, Carol, like I might not be doing what you said, but I'll try and find another picture. We're going to walk over to my design wall real quick, and I'm going to show you this patchwork that has some extra texturing. And this is ruler texturing, so it's a little different. Oh, don't rotate your phone. Right? Okay, so look. Doesn't that look super awesome? And that's just one thing that we did. Let me see if I can move out a little bit. So this would be that same item without the texturing. Am I doing it right? Yeah, that's the same one right there. That's no texturing, right? Right here in the center, no texturing. And then the texturing, just to go back and let's show it to you one more time. Look at what a difference that makes. Can you see that? Super awesome. So Carol, I'll try to find more of a like a patchworky thing that I have that has a little bit more of that texturing. But it's definitely worth doing, I think. Very much worthwhile putting in any kind of micro quilting if you have the time. So anyway, you guys have a great day. I will see you later. Happy quilting. Go sew something. Have a good weekend.